I have 5 regrets that if I could spare you from them, I would love to do that. Like, that would be a nice thing for me to know that I spared a couple of people out there from doing the mistakes that I made. You may want to jump to this right now. And if you're new and you don't have any system at all, jump to this right now. Don't do any other system, because every time I outgrew it, every time I realized the inefficiencies of it, every time I realized what problems came, but I didn't see the problems before I started the system. I just jumped into the system. But I just was under the impression, because I saw all these resellers out there being successful and selling so much, that if I just did more, if I just listed more, it would be okay. And then I just realized that, like, there's no amount of me listing more of these kinds of items that's going to get me where I want to go. Download your free reseller resource guide today. I constantly update and share with you discounts, favorites, tools, and resources to help you with your reselling business. After the video, click the link in the description and get your totally free guide today. I don't have a lot of regrets in my life. I'm usually a person that kind of does what I want. I make it work. I don't look back. I kind of just do the things and keep moving forward. But I will tell you that I do have a few reseller regrets to share with you today. And this is kind of going to be like one of those, I wish I knew, I wish I did this better little regret confessions. And I hope that you will cozy up with me, grab your coffee, your vodka, your water, your whatevers, and let's talk a little bit about some of the lessons I've learned along the way, because I have 5 regrets that if I could spare you from them, I would love to do that. Like, that would be a nice thing for me to know that I spared a couple of people out there from doing the mistakes that I made. So help you, help me, let me help you, all the things. And let's talk about some of these regrets. So the first one that was a big time waster and a big just mental struggle that I regret not doing sooner was, what I did was try every single inventory system out there. And in the process, it took time, it took supplies, it took stress for me, it took like physical doing the things. Like, if I had just come to the realization that the inventory system I have now was the best one, and I did that from the beginning, I can't even tell you how many hours I would have saved. I can't tell you how much money I would have saved, so much. And in the process of that, I would have also then been able to focus on my business more and make more sales because I wasn't doing this other thing. So I use now the chronological numbering system. That's how I manage my inventory. I have a video on it. I have a few videos on all of the inventory systems I've done over time, but there's one that says like best inventory system ever. And that's the one that it ended on because that was the dream make. Like, that was the one. All the ones I did before that were terrible. So real quick, what it is, just so you know, is I start at 1. My numbers go all the way up to 10,000. I label all the bags that I keep my items in, that I store them in so I can easily find them. I put 25 items in an IKEA bag, and they're all in order in my storage unit with the numbers. So like 1 through 25 is in this IKEA bag, and then 26 through 50 is in this IKEA bag, and it goes all the way up. And right now, like, I'm on 7,000 or whatever, but I have up to 10,000 to number before I have to start again. So as you list new items, you just put them at the end. So like right now, I think I'm on 7,514 is the one I see in my bag. So right now I'm on 7,501 through 7,525. That's the like set of 25 that I'm in. I'm going to do all those items. They're going to go in one IKEA bag, and I'm going to put it at the end of my shelf at the storage unit. And so you just keep adding to the end. As items sell, you can condense bags. So like my 1 through 25 and my 26 through 50, when those become like half full, I just smush them together. And now that bag becomes 1 through 50. And so you just condense down. And I do that like once a month. Doesn't really take a lot of time. But what it does save you from is having to find which item sold and what number, and like people are using clothespins and people are using index cards and people are doing like all kinds of stuff to keep track of like this number sold. Now it's available. I can assign this number to this item. Now I have to put that item back. And it's like a whole thing. And it's like stressful. It's a lot of work. Not to mention, before that, I did like 3 other systems. So if you're in any other system other than the chronological numbering system, like I just like kind of quickly explained, but I have a whole video on it, you may want to jump to this right now. And if you're new and you don't have any system at all, jump to this right now. Don't do any other system, because every time I outgrew it, every time I realized the inefficiencies of it, every time I realized what problems came, but I didn't see the problems before I started the system. I just jumped into the system. And with the chronological numbering system, I've had it for like 4 or 5 years now, and I haven't had a need to change since. It has just continuously worked. It continuously grows with you, and it's fantastic. So my big regret is that I didn't do that sooner, because I did waste time, I did waste money, I did have stress. And if I could save someone all of those things, and then you could make more money in your business because you weren't focused on your inventory system anymore, because it's just handled, that would make me feel really good. So whatever inventory system you have, switch to the chronological numbering system, and then that's it. So that was regret number 1, is not finding that sooner. Posture VA is a tax-deductible business investment that pays for itself many times over each month. It increases Poshmark sales because it shares and sends offers more than I ever could manually. It handles all my shares, automatic offer to likers, bulk offers, and it can do price drops and relists. When my coaching clients add Posture VA, it makes more sales basically immediately. The best part is that you get your time back. More time with family, thrifting, whatever. Get 20% off with code Rebecca the Reseller and the link below. Number 2 is selling low value items for so long. So, for the first 3 years of reselling, I sold $10 to $15 items that I got at the bins for $1. And I just didn't really make that much money because I was working so hard. I also ended up hiring people to help me because I was, a stay-at-home mom with a little guy, and I didn't have time to do all the things that I needed. But I just was under the impression, because I saw all these resellers out there being successful and selling so much, that if I just did more, if I just listed more, it would be okay. And then I just realized that there's no amount of me listing more of these kinds of items that's going to get me where I want to go. I'm never, in my personal version of my reselling business, going to be able to sell $10 to $15 items at the volume that I'm selling them at, which was not as high as it needed to be, and the kinds of items that they were, run-of-the-mill basic stuff. I was never going to make the money I wanted to make. And it wasn't until I finally realized that, because I just kept pushing forward and saying, I'll just sell more, I'll just do more. And then I realized, there's no amount of more that's going to get me where I want to go. I have to completely shatter this business and remake it from the bottom up. And as I was realizing that, that's when the pandemic happened. And so I sold off all my stuff. I homeschooled my son. And then when it was time to go back into it, I rebuilt my store with at first only $35 items and now only $50 items. I changed all kinds of processes, but I mostly did better items. And then I became a 6-figure reseller. And so it wasn't until I just really gave up on that old way of thinking that I was able to find the new way. And the new way was the way. And so you can't, unless you are okay with just making, some part-time money, you're a hobby seller, you just want to make $500 a month, then sure, you can sell $10 to $15 items and do all of that. I think that's fine. But if you are trying to make a full-time living of this, you want to quit your job potentially to be a reseller, or, you're a person in between jobs, or, a stay-at-home mom or whatever, you don't have a job right now, you want to be a full-time person that feeds your family or feeds yourself or saves for retirement or whatever your goals are with your reselling money, I don't think you can make it by only selling $10 or $15 items. Like, I do think that there is a model where it's possible, but it's not anything you can do on your own. It would require bulk purchasing, warehouse, multiple photo setups, multiple people helping you, such volume that you would be able to have those economies of scale make up for the fact that you don't have that much profit in the item. And I don't think one person can do it. I could be wrong. You could prove me wrong. Tell me in the comments below, but I don't think so. And it wasn't true for me. And so it was only until I sold higher value items that I was able to make the money I wanted and have the reselling business that I have now, 7 years later, which is way better and so much more manageable and so much more full of positivity, because I can make a sale and be like, that's $35. Yes. Instead of, I did all that work and I only made $8, or I did all that work and I only made $10. Like, that's, not great. So I think that if I could save you from being in the low value items area for a while and encourage and push you based on my experience to get into the higher value items, that would be great. That would be great for you, and it would make me feel good. So let me know in the comments below if that is something I have done today. I will feel really positive about this video. The next one is waiting to get automation. I don't remember exactly when I got automation, but it was way longer than lots of other people. And I did early on, though, realize that I couldn't share myself. So when I was a reseller early on, my little guy was a toddler. I was a stay-at-home mom with him. And so it was difficult for me to be on my phone like that, sharing all these items at a certain time, making sure that it gets done every day. That was really hard for me. So in the beginning, I did hire a person, another stay-at-home, well, not a stay-at-home mom. She was a working mom, and she did this for me remotely, and she was located nearby, but remotely. And so I hired her through Facebook, and I paid her through PayPal, and she shared my closet for me, clicked all the buttons and shared my closet for me. And that worked out. And then I realized, this is kind of expensive. It was still worth it to do. I was still making profit, even paying her to do it. But I realized that I could probably hire someone internationally, virtually, to do it for cheaper. And so I did. I hired a virtual assistant in the Philippines, a college student, and she shared my closet for me for a while. And then she kind of got a little unreliable. She's a college student and she just wanted to go and have fun and live her life. And so I ended up not having her anymore, and I hired a different person in the Philippines to share my closet for me. And that person still works for me now and is my lister, among other things. She does a lot for me, but she doesn't share anymore because now there's automation. So I've done the things. I've done it myself. I've hired a US person. I've hired multiple people internationally to do it for me and paid a physical person to do it. Until then, I came around to automation and said, well, all these other people are out there doing it. It doesn't look like their closets are getting shut down. So it would save me a lot of money, and it would allow me to get more shares done than having a person do it. Because the automation is a bot, and the bot can go 24 hours and the person can't. And so I went to the dark side and got automation for sharing. And then I started using it for offer to likers as that functionality became available. And now I could not make my business without it. My business is dependent on Posher VA. Hands down dependent on Posher VA. It is amazing. Use my code Rebecca the Reseller for 20% off. It is what does it for me, because I could not do it all myself. And now at the rate of things, I probably wouldn't be able to. I would still make money, but it would be a big hit to profit to pay a person to do all the sharing, all the offers that I'm doing now with automation for $25 a month. Yeah, no way. Huge value, huge value. So if you are someone that has really dug in their heels about it, or you just don't know about it yet, Poshmark is a place where it really runs on sharing, and it really runs on offers being sent to people. And I have a whole sharing video. I have a whole offer to likers video that really run you through all the nitty gritty of this. But this is critical now to making sales on Poshmark. You really can't get by without it. I mean, live sales are different, but if you're trying to sell traditionally where you just list the items, you really need to rely on sharing and offer to likers, and therefore you really need to rely on automation. You can't keep your head in the sand anymore. You must do this. And so I really feel like that was a big regret of mine, is not coming around to that sooner, because I would have saved thousands of dollars in what I was paying people where I could have just paid automation. And I would have made exponentially more sales over the course of years, because the productivity would have been higher on the back of the automation versus what a person could do. So you can't do it all yourself. You don't get a gold star for doing it all yourself. And so you need to consider automation. So that's that one. And then so I have two more. This one is not always having a photographer and a virtual assistant. So this is a big leap for most people. And so this may be one that you can't go down that road, on, and I understand, but there's probably, 10% of you out there that have been thinking about getting a photographer or thinking about getting a virtual assistant to list for you. And this may be the little nudge you need to do it. And so if you are one of those people, comment down below, thank you for the nudge, and I will know that I was speaking directly to you. But one of the things that I regret is not always having a virtual assistant to list for me and a photographer to take the photos for me. Those two things are my bottleneck, because I have great partners to order from. I order most of my inventory from Helpsy Source. You can use code Rebecca the Reseller for 10% off. So I have unlimited amounts of inventory that I can buy, right? And I have buckets of money in my business. I'm really good at socking money away and keeping a small business fund. So I have buckets of money in my business. And so it's not about a money issue, and it's not about a sourcing issue. So what it is about is a manpower workflow issue for taking the photographs and getting the listings up. That's the bottleneck in my business. So if you get a photographer, that handles that part. And if you get a virtual assistant to list for you, that handles that part. Well, I've had my virtual assistant for, I think, this December, which you might be seeing this past December, but anyway, this December 2023, I think it's 6 years I have had this virtual assistant work for my business in many, many capacities. And so now that person really just lists for me and then some other special projects. And so that virtual assistant is every day gets the drafts made, and all I have to do is activate them. And that is a huge weight off my shoulders, because I'm sure for you, having that weight on you of every day I have to get the listings up. Can't make money if it doesn't get listed. Things don't get listed if I don't list them. Can't list them if I don't do the photographs. Can't photograph if I don't source. And so there's so much on your plate. Whereas for me, I order it, somebody's going to photograph it, somebody's going to list it, and all I have to do is ship it. And that's great, because that means it's sold. So I'm always happy to ship the items. But that allows me to make content. And so that's why I have those people, because if I wasn't making content, I would have more time and then I would do those things. But I really like making the content. I like helping you guys. I like talking with you guys. And I like helping you make these, progressions in your business. So for me, I'd rather do this, and I'd rather have somebody do my photography and my listing. And so there have been times, including kind of right now, where I've had gaps, where I didn't have a photographer and I didn't have a virtual assistant. Mostly the virtual assistant has been pretty consistent. It was just in the beginning that I didn't have her, but she's been pretty consistent. The photographer, because it's a physical person here, that has some turnover, because the last one I had was amazing and she moved. I was supposed to hire someone, but then I think she kind of chickened out. And so I'm kind of we're coming up on the holidays here. Again, you're going to see this later, but right now we're coming up on the holidays. And so I'm kind of not wanting to hire somebody right now. So I'm going to get through the holidays. I'm going to see if I can do it myself and how I feel about that, because I've mostly gotten other things kind of handled where I do have the time. It's just I don't want to. I haven't done it for so long that I don't want to. So, I like having someone else do it, but the conditions have to be right to have that person. And so the whole point of this was to say that my business has operated the most smoothly when I ordered in bulk, had a photographer, had a virtual assistant, and all I did was ship. And then my time was spent on coaching calls, making courses, making content, YouTube videos, answering comments, sending out my emails, doing all that stuff, because that brings me more joy than this other thing. And I think I'm pretty good at that. So for you, the takeaway is, if you are a person that's like, listen, I'm never going to do that, fine. But like I said, I think there's 10% of you out there that just need that little nudge to get the confidence to know that the first one might not be so great, but the second one's going to be a lot better. And when you make that leap to bring a person into your business to help you, it's always a small uphill battle, but then it's like a nice, smooth ride after that. And it's glorious to have work being done without you having to do it. It is such a wonderful feeling, and it is so empowering, and you feel like your business could just grow and grow and grow, and it's wonderful. So for that 10% of you out there, again, comment nudge if this gives you the nudge to go and finally do it. I think hiring a lister is probably a good place to start. Then hire the photographer. That's what I would recommend. And if you want more info on that, I do have digital downloads and other videos about hiring help in your business, specifically photographers and virtual assistants. So if I could encourage you to get one of those or both of those, I highly would. It's a regret of mine not to have had one steadily, or not to have had both of them steadily. The last one is, don't forget to stop by the Rebecca the Reseller Academy, where you can find all of the products and all of the educational tools I have available for you, including all the free goodies. Here you can find coaching calls, Poshmark closet reviews, digital downloads, including my free reseller resource guide, as well as all of my courses and all of the bundles to save you lots of money. Hope you'll stop by soon at the Rebecca the Reseller Academy. The last one is not checking comps in the beginning. So I think part of the reason why I was a $10 to $15 item seller for so long in the beginning was because I didn't check comps. And most of that was because I didn't feel like I had time to source and check comps and only come away with the best stuff. Like, I had an hour or two to source when my little guy, was maybe being watched by my husband or my mom, or when he did finally go to a little preschool, I had 3 hours to go to the bins only a few times a week. And so I had really limited sourcing time to go to a place and find stuff to list for the week or for the 2 weeks or whatever. And so I was always rushed. I always felt pressured, and I always felt like I couldn't spend the time checking because it might tell me that this isn't a good item, and then I'm only going to leave with 5 items, and that's not enough to list and not enough to make money. I just had this whole really, scarcity mindset about time, money, checking comps, being able to get stuff done. I just felt really pressured all the time and very limited, and it was just not really a healthy place to be. And so I did not check comps. And so it was a struggle in the beginning, and I think that's why I ended up with such low value items, because I wasn't checking to see if they were good items or not beforehand. So I regret that. I could have probably been a much better, much higher selling reseller in the beginning if I had done that. And so I would say to you, whether you feel pressured about time or sourcing or whatever, like I did, or you're just, maybe you don't feel that pressure, but you should check the comps, because it's how you learn in the beginning, and it helps you avoid those bad buys, which is basically wasting your time and money to come away with wasting more time and money for potentially a loss. So if you make a bad buy, you bought it with money, you spent your time to find it, then you spent your time to list it, then maybe you're going to do all these clearance strategies, maybe you retake the photos, maybe you redo your listing, maybe you end up taking it out of online and then you sell it locally, or so much time and effort is wasted on bad buys, and you might end up with a loss after all that time and effort. And if you had just checked the comps on the front end for maybe 2 minutes on your phone, it might have saved you all of that money and heartache and stress and time wasted. So I think that this is probably one of the more impactful ones on the list, because I do regret not checking comps. It was a misstep. on my part for sure. And I definitely see now that I could have made better choices in the beginning, and I would have made more money in the beginning. I would have been more successful sooner if I had checked the comps. And so if you're someone that, skips over that part, or you don't think you're very good at checking the comps, I would start looking on YouTube about how to check comps. If you want me to do a video about how to check comps, let me know in the comments. But I think that you're missing out. If you're not checking those comps, you could be doing more damage to your business when you think you're saving time, but you're actually not. You're probably wasting more time and wasting money by not checking the comps. So those were 5 reseller regrets that I have that I've done in my business. And I'm not usually a person to, have regrets. And if my telling you these things helps you from making those same poor decisions, that would make me feel really good and worth having done the video. So I wish you guys the best. I hope you don't make any of these mistakes, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.